All right, what's up?
I was just saying we are live, making sure you started your pre-rant.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Going ahead and getting started with Pick and Troll episode number 7. Coming to you live Saturday morning around 10:15 a.m. here with Rex. Big slate today. We do have some college basketball to talk about. I've got 7 games that I like. Rex is on 4. We share all 4 that he is on. So I'll be doing most of the talking as per usual. Give me 2 moments while I go ahead and tweet this out. Make sure that we can get people joining in.
Yeah, shout out if you're on the West Coast, if you're a wild man and you haven't slept yet, or if you're up super early and like to be up, shout us out, drop in the comments. Let us know what your guys' favorite play is. If you need any thoughts, insights on the games, we can give you it on the fly. We'll reference our model to give you our edge. We've had some pretty good luck with the viewer questions that we've taken so far. And as usual, it seems like Charlie and Bentley are kind of calm right now. Maybe it's because it's early, but over under until like the 15-minute mark until the first scuffle starts.
Yeah, yesterday was a little crazy. I ended up taking him to a dog park last night, and that's why I think they are still rather tired today. They slept virtually every minute after we returned from the dog park. So, all right, went ahead and tweeted out the link. Thanks for covering for me there for a few moments, Rex. Episode 7, Pick and Troll. Rex and I had a great night last night, so we'll get right into that. First, quick plug, breakdownsports.com, college football, NFL, soccer content all up over the site. We did release a card grading article this week, so go ahead and check that out if you're into the hobby. Find us on Twitter, BRK breakdown_sports, BRKDWN_sports, Instagram, _breakdown, and Facebook, find us at The Breakdown, just by doing a quick search. So last night, I went 4-1 with my picks. Rex went 2-1. We both felt that loss of Marquette. Marquette scoring about 4 points down the stretch in the last 7 minutes. So that was a tough loss, but otherwise, great night for the Pick and Troll crew. Ballers of the night. Last night, Luke Garza put up points, and he was the only one doing it for Iowa. Garza scored 34 points. He only missed 1 shot. He was 7 from 7 from inside, and he was 6 from 7 from downtown. So great game. Luke Garza continues to put up points, doesn't want to be forgotten about. He's going to be real fun to watch, especially once we get some stiffer competition for that man as we get into the stretch of conference play.
Just slight work. Just looked like he was just out on the ballpark last night, just doing whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. Just a man out there amongst children.
Yep. Dwight Murray of Rider put up 20 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists against Manhattan. Yeah. And then ball and win, doesn't matter. This team actually got taken down by my alma mater, UMass. So Tyson Walker of Northeastern, he scored 29 points, 5 steals, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds. I won't leave out Trey Mitchell. Trey Mitchell put up 31 and 10, as Trey Mitchell does. Those are Trey Mitchell things, especially when he likes picking off that lower tier talent like we see in Northeastern. So that's all from last night. A quick recap on the model. Model went 6-5-1 yesterday, 2-2 over 2.5 points. We are now up to 156, 143 and 10, which is just over 52%. Multi-point edges, so those 2.5 point plus edges, we are 66, 53 and 2. So just sitting over 55% there. Rex, you want to go into a little bit more detail?
Yeah, going well still, like where it's at. Like we said yesterday, you got to learn how to read the model. We got some nice trolls coming up, so I don't want to ruin those too early about how to read a model and when something spits out. But the one team that's in action today, so we're kind of like transitioning into our picks, but we don't have a game on this. We don't have a pick on this one, but St. Louis, top of the A10 right now. They're 4-0 ATS. 3 of their games, they've laid more than 20 points. They've all covered all of those with ease. The model is 0-3 on those games. They're listed at -22 currently today against Evansville. So that's where one is. We went against the model yesterday in Iowa, and it worked out for us. So this was a potential spot I was looking at, but I know Evansville is pretty bad, but don't want to run the luck of St. Louis just continually scoring 80 or 90 points. Maybe that's going to be their threshold, but not trying to figure it out on December 12th.
Have they been shooting the free throws better this year?
I mean, it really doesn't matter when you're up so much in every single game. That I think against LSU, they did it at a little bit better rate than they usually do. But this is where St. Louis, one of their biggest issues has always been getting to the free throw line, and they're shooting it at 77.5% currently.
That's big upgrade from last year.
Yeah, down in like 64 or whatever it was.
Yeah. But all right, we're going to go ahead and kick it off. Like I mentioned, I've got 7 picks. Rex has 4. I'm going to give you 2 quick hitters. I'll give you 2, and then Rex will talk about one of the bets that we share, and we'll go back and forth like we always do. First one that I have, I believe this is a little bit of an earlier game. I think it's like 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern, so I'm going to give this one out first. VCU and Old Dominion. I'm playing Old Dominion team total under 63.5 points. Minus 113. You can find that on, I think I found it on Bet Online, or I found it local. VCU might still be without Kashawn Curry, who is their one of their starting guards, but honestly, I do not feel that matters. VCU's defense right now is one of the top in the nation. They are absolutely performing at an elite clip. They are holding teams to under 65 points pretty consistently. They held Memphis to 59 points. Was very early in the Memphis season, so maybe that's not the Memphis team that we're seeing right now. But although this Old Dominion offense is good, I just don't see them being able to break down that VCU defense that was great through Shaka Smart, and now that Mike Rhodes is holding the clipboard, continues to run that same style havoc defense. So I like VCU. Spread here, I think, is about 7-ish. But honestly, I just think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think VCU probably scores like 65, and Old Dominion probably coming in somewhere around 58 points. Old Dominion doesn't turn over the ball, but they don't get a lot of rebounds. So I just like the angle here for VCU. They have a lot of edges on the defensive end of the glass. Second pick in my quick hitters here is going to be Pepperdine laying 15. Market still at 15. Our projection, this is one of our largest edges, is 18, a little over 18. So call it a 3-point edge. Pepperdine, they move the ball. They're hitting threes. That's been one of the things that Pepperdine Waves have done the last few seasons. A little narrative for today. They are celebrating pregame. Colby Ross, their senior point guard, is now the all-time leading scorer in universities. Also one of the 5 active highest scorers in college basketball. They're honoring him pregame. So minus 15. They're playing Cal State Northridge. That's a bottom 50 school. Pepperdine's about a top 100 school. Northridge does play fast, so that does work in Pepperdine's favor. If Pepperdine's able to keep Northridge from scoring, which it's CSU Northridge, it's not like they're exactly known for their scoring. I think that Pepperdine gets the ball back, hits the glass the other way, put in those breakaways that they love to shoot. They'll post up on the 3-point line like they always do and cruise to this one, easily clearing 15. If you don't like laying such a big spread, take the first half. They should cover first half. They probably will be up by 10 or 11 points when we go into halftime. So first play is Old Dominion team total under 63.5, minus 113. Second play, Pepperdine laying 15, minus 110. Market is at 15. Projection is 18.
Getting with those mid-majors right there because they make you the same amount of money as the big boys do unless your book limits you, and if it does that, you're throwing a lot of change and you probably don't need to be listening to a stream. So I'll kick off our first play. This one does tip off in roughly about 30 minutes, so we do share that. So let's get that one in there for all of our viewers. We are going with another mid-major matchup with Toledo versus UMKC, the Kangaroos. So, Jordan, if you want to play the Kangaroo song while we cover this one in the background and dub it in, I feel like that would go well. Right here with right here. Went against Toledo once this season, regretted it, apologized to my man Marion Jackson. Today, I'm expecting them to show up against a bottom 50 team in all of college basketball. So Toledo, one of the biggest advantages that they hold in this game, they're currently shooting 40% from three, 26th best in the nation. And UMKC is allowing teams to shoot 40% from three, and that's 300th in the nation. So right there, what Toledo does well, it's the best part there. I mean, UMKC is a bottom 300 team in offense and defense. Their best player is averaging 14 minutes a game, so that means he's playing the best when the game's already determined. The model has this listed around 13, I believe, Jordan, and we're playing it at minus 11.5. I mean, the strengths just match up, or the strength of Toledo. I don't think UMKC has an advantage there, and your edge, quote unquote, you could give to UMKC in this game is their field goal to assist rate is 256 or 263rd best in the nation. Toledo doesn't do that well, and sure, if you want to assist on the mid-range jumpers, which this UMKC team likes to do a lot, go for it. If you want to assist on mid-range, we'll give you that all day. Toledo, as long as they don't go ice cold from three, I don't see how they don't win by double digits. 11.5 is large, but it is what it is. The model says there's an edge there. I like this angle with Toledo.
Yep, I'm on that play as well. I won't go too much into detail. Something that we both mentioned stuck out to us is Bart Torovic puts out basically a game wins above replacement type or points above replacement type statistic. Looking at Toledo, let's say 4 of their starters are a 2.5 point or greater points above replacement, where UMKC does not have a single player on their team who meets that mark and plays over 14% of the minutes. So that's really the angle there. Toledo's the far superior team. They're probably about a top 100 team, as Rex mentioned. Kansas City is approximately a bottom 50, just about 300th overall type team. Toledo's elite from the three. UMKC does not stop the three. So like Rex said, maybe Toledo goes ice cold, but honestly, I just don't see UMKC having much of anything to be able to keep pace with Toledo here in this game, especially where UMKC plays so slow. They're one of the slowest teams in the nation. I think that Toledo should have no time covering this 11.5. And as Rex mentioned, the projection is a little over 13, just about 13.5. So got about a 2-point edge there. Market's still 11.5. So if you want to jump in on this one with us, nice early action, go ahead and take that now.
So question for you.
Yeah.
There's 373 teams in college basketball, but obviously the Ivies are sitting out and other teams are. I think this is the lowest I've seen someone on BART. The free throw rate that UMKC allows is 345th. So that's what I'm thinking. That's saying 12 teams haven't even played a game yet. So are they legitimately the worst team or the best team at fouling on defense?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's really bad. 80.9. Does that mean 80.9 of possessions against them end in a free throw?
Yeah, about 40% of their possessions about 80% of their possessions they foul on.
Holy shit. Oh my God. This might be a well play. You got to put 13 units on this bitch. Jesus. All right. Well, yeah, I honestly, I completely glanced over that. Everything else that they have is highlighted in red. And just for folks who might be new to the conditional formatting, red is bad. You don't want to be red. You'd like to be green or no fill.
So yeah, Haslam has them at 357 for free throw rate. So yeah, they're the bottom.
All right.
What's our next one we got up? I think that's enough kangaroo talk, even though we all want the kangaroo song.
I was looking for it, and then it played an ad on my phone, and I didn't want the ad to play over you, and it just kind of seemed like it was going to be a lot of work. Next one that I'll jump in. I think this is my last game that I don't share with you, so I'll get this one out of the way. I am taking Mississippi State today. They are playing Dayton. This line continued to grow, which I didn't totally understand. It opened, I believe, around 2. It's currently up to 3.5. So I'm taking Mississippi State plus 3.5 minus 110. Market's actually 3.5, 4. So you're able to get a nice 4 if you want to lay minus 115 on that. And we have this projected at a pick. Some of the things that I like here is that Mississippi State has a size advantage. They are able to play big, and that should bode pretty well for them. Dayton has not done very well at controlling the ball. I think these teams are very closely matched up. They are both ranked within 10 to 15 spots of each other, and Bart, KenPom, and looking at Eric Haslam's metrics. So there's a lot to like about Mississippi State, especially when you're getting 1.5 possessions worth of underdog value there. So I do like that angle with them. Another thing that I really like about Mississippi State is with their size is that they actually score inside. So they're pulling down the second chance shots. They are getting a lot of offensive rebounds. They are scoring from close to the basket, which when you have a size advantage is very helpful. Getting 3.5 here, I think this game, like our model says, is closer to a pick. It's certainly going to be a close one. Not going to be, I don't believe this will be like a sweat-free bet, but I could see Mississippi State winning down the stretch, especially where Dayton has been so inconsistent this season. It seems like Dayton is having a little bit of offensive woes following Obi Toppin going to the NBA. So I like Mississippi State here. I like what their defense can bring to this matchup, and I think that catching 3.5 points is a nice angle.
Yeah, so I guess everyone forgot that Obi was in the NBA, had a solid debut with the Pistons last night. Glad to see him there. Dayton, really so far this season, I guess they weren't going to fall off a cliff just because of the talent that they had there, but losing, I mean, if Garza wasn't there, Obi easily wins that. He might have had one of the best seasons where you don't win Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with this Dayton team, when you go to Haslam's website and you click on just the Dayton team, they show you their best performances and worst performances. So once it's early, he only ranks the top 5. So since it's early in the season, you kind of can see where they're trending. And this team in their 3 games so far, even though they've won 2 of them, they're just saying they're not playing well right now. And Mississippi State, this is a team where I backed them on the first game against Clemson. Was stupid to do that because we see what Clemson is now. Maybe that's a tease. We'll talk about them later. But when I dug into this game deeper, and one, I don't get why this line's moving. I looked, I don't see anyone out. There's no sure on one of these apps where it gives you the sharp percentage. It's there, but how do they get these numbers? They don't tell us that. So we could be making bets based off, I don't know, I wouldn't call it fake data. I'm not trying to start any ploys here, but the biggest thing I saw in this is both of their offenses versus the opposing defense is a much bigger disparity than I thought. Because when I think of, I don't know, Mississippi State isn't always a defensive stalwart, but I didn't think they'd be playing at the 113th best rate right now. And Dayton, I mean, last season, maybe that's just a little recency bias, but they're playing at the 74th best rate. This total is pretty low. So that's where I'm just like, kind of.
2 slow teams. Very deliberate.
But 2 slow teams, if they're extremely effective, that's where I think it sits in the 130s somewhere in there. Yeah. I think that's where it could easily go over just because of the disparity. But I wasn't trying to bank into maybe an outcome that has 33% because both teams probably have to be shooting over 45% to get that to happen. And Mississippi State, one of the biggest advantages that I like here is their 3-point percentage against Dayton's defense guarding it. So as long as they don't go ice cold there, and they hit the boards pretty well. So it just seems like 4 is definitely way too much. No home court advantage should really be there for Dayton.
I'm with you. What do you want to tackle next?
So since you leaned out the one of the plays on the Dragons, I guess I'll go next to the one that I added in because we saw it jump down with. You got burned by them, I believe, the last time we played.
Yeah.
Good game against Rutgers, but Jordan's going back to the well here, quote unquote. I'm jumping on the Orange Men here. This line is now sitting at 2.5 against Boston College, and I just think that's definitely too low because as of right now, our spread has it at 3.5. So we're getting about a point edge here. So it's not our 2.5 threshold that we like. But with the Syracuse, I mean, I know Boston College, if you look at who they played so far, they might have the toughest schedule by far in Division One to start their season. They've played a bunch of big games. Even URI was a tough one. Is there fatigue in there right now? I don't really think that is somewhere that could be reason to go against them. But just, I don't know what's going on with the market today. We're seeing a lot of numbers drop. So that's where it's going against where I thought they would go. And Syracuse, they just hold an edge on both sides of the court. When they have the ball, they're the 41st best offense going against 141st defense. When Boston College has the ball, they're 71st on offense. Syracuse is 29. And Boston College, they're not the best three-point shooting team. They're shooting at 34%. And when you're playing that Syracuse zone, that's something you're going to need. Who is the guy on the outside for Boston College that can really break that zone or get into the middle to break it? They don't have their true center really doesn't get much run. So it's not like you can go to the inside to that. And I think that's where it shows Boston College's biggest weakness so far. Maybe the sample size is small, but they're allowing teams to shoot 59% from two.
They have no size.
Yep. And then Syracuse, their size isn't by any means large, but this is where Marie Dolezaj. Yeah, that's where I think this is a game where we've seen him break 14 and 20 twice so far. This is where I think they do it because Syracuse is shooting at 56% from two. That's a huge disparity I like there. And the only way I see this one not covering, and which basically means Boston College wins outright, is if they could just get hot from three. We've seen Syracuse do it. Syracuse has only had one of their 3-point magic games so far. So that's where we hope that this is their time that they get hot from deep. Boston College likes to run it, but it's hard to run against a zone. And that's where I just think Syracuse, they don't play at a fast or slow pace. They're right in the middle. I just think Syracuse controls this game to start to finish. Boston College is definitely more battle tested, but Cuse should come up and get a nice win here.
Yep. Agreeing with everything that you said, I think Syracuse could really establish themselves if they kind of put the ball in the paint more often, where they do have a pretty significant size advantage against a conference team. They should just play to their advantages here. Yep. Syracuse is one of the most elite teams at close twos. They hit over 70% of them. That's one of the highest margins that I've seen. But they're only 25% of their shots are coming from in there. So if they can bump that up and they can shoot closer to 30-40% of their shots today from real close range, I really like this angle for Syracuse. I'm not sure if Buddy Boeheim is back in the fold yet. He was one of the I think he had coronavirus. So he was out. He's been out the last 2 games. I'm not sure if this will be the first game that he returns, but I just think that Boston College will have their hands full. Both sides of the court. You mentioned that Syracuse zone that we love to talk about. I think that Boston College doesn't necessarily have any answers for that. They are good at shooting the three, as you mentioned, but that's one of the areas where Syracuse has always dominated is their ability to defend the three with that zone that they love to run. So all the angles pointing towards Syracuse here. We are getting a nice small number. We saw it around 3, and we were kind of on the fence about it, but seeing it down to 2.5, we both like this. Our projection has it at 3.5. So taking Syracuse minus 2.5.
Let's back the Orangemen. Let's get your money back here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Next one here, or is this our last already?
No, we have the fun one next.
Ooh. UAB?
Yeah, well, no, after that, we have the one that we've been teasing and the one that we have no idea what's going on in this line. The one that
yeah. All right, cool.
About. Yep.
Yep. All right, so next pick for both of us, we both took this one, UAB minus 3.5. UAB plays East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State, new coach and I believe they lost all 5 of their starters from last year. I backed East Tennessee State against Abilene Christian in the first game, and they got blown out. East Tennessee State cannot hit a three. They are one of the worst three-point teams in the nation, which if you aren't good at shooting threes, don't shoot them. But that's not something that East Tennessee State is about to do. Over 33% of their shots come from three-point range, and they're shooting 22%. So I don't know why this line is only 3.5. This is a top 100 team playing a bottom 150 team. I'd put East Tennessee State probably in the 200 to 250 range. UAB has a huge size advantage. They have a 7-foot center, and East Tennessee State has no one over 6'8", I want to say. UAB's offense is very efficient, and while East Tennessee State has actually a decent offense, I don't see how they're going to be able to score, referring to East Tennessee State. I don't know how they'll keep this inside of the number of 3.5. And yeah, that's about it. East Tennessee State really only has one good player. His name's Ty Brewer. And he only plays about 60% of their minutes. Other than that, they have a bunch of below replacement level players who will not do a whole lot of anything against a physically superior UAB team. Rex.
Yep, with the Dragons. This is where I almost thought about backing 2 Dragons today, but we're just sticking with one. The Always Sunny episode when Charlie says dragon on the Family Feud one always gets me.
Yeah.
But with UAB, the least amount of points they've scored so far is 73 points in a game. Then they've scored 77, 84, and 99. They're 3-0-1 against the number so far this season. And all signs point to that just to keep cruising. This ETSU team last year, completely different squad on their fours. Usually owns that Southern. Furman was on their tails last year. Furman looks to have a firm grip on it this season. ETSU,
I think a good one. Furman.
Yeah. So this is where I just think it's going to take a while, or not take a while, but this is going to be a transition year. They're getting their feet back under them. Maybe if you do have a transition season, the COVID one is the best one to do it because you have the less eyes on it, basically. But I mean, when you go and look at what ETSU does successfully, they just assist on a bunch of buckets, and that's really it. And they like to score from the inside, or they like to score in transition. So this is where, as long as UAB takes care of the ball, doesn't let ETSU turn them over frequently. And it's strange because ETSU is the 331st best team in turning over the ball. So on defense, they really rely on that.
They were coughing it up.
Yeah, and on the defensive side, though, they're forcing turnovers at the 16th best rate, but that's only 3 games. They haven't played anyone really yet. This is going to be their best competition. So that's where getting the 3.5 here opened at 6.5. Opened at 6.5. Probably in most books, it probably opened closer down to 4.5. So that's where, with this UAB team, I just think at 5-0, just a clearly superior team. I don't really think East Tennessee holds any edges. And when you said this was 3.5, it wasn't one that stuck out to me. But once you dug into the numbers, it just made sense. Because who are you confident with on this East Tennessee State team to score? And who do you really like on their squad?
If you look at their metrics on Haslam, the only area where they have an edge on offense is field goal attempt rate. So great. They shoot a shit ton of shots, but they can't make anything. And the other that they have is that there's the potential for breakaway scoring because they do have a lot of turnovers. But again, UAB is going to be the best team that they've played this year. And what does that say about your school if you lose? You're losing by 20 plus points. You're going up against a much superior offense and a team that's going to play you extremely hard on defense. So UAB minus 3.5 here. Both of us backing this one.
Yep. Time to get into them trolls.
And then we'll do the bet that we share last to close the show. I have a wild man parlay sent in to us from Matt McPherson. So last night he hit, I don't know what that was.
9
leg. So, and that was some decent coin he got. Today he has a 7 leg, and I think we actually like this. So He's got Florida State money line minus 150. He has Kentucky under 75.5 points against Notre Dame. He has the Kansas City Kangaroos under 63.5.
Ooh, that aligns with us well.
Yeah, I mean, in Kentucky, we've talked about them not having the ability to score. We talked about Florida State and Leonard Hamilton owning Florida. Wofford plus 3.5. He has Tennessee money line minus 340 at Cincy. He has Oklahoma State minus 190 versus Wichita, and then he has Winthrop minus 9.5. It is a $5 wager with plus 4,000 odds to win $200. I like it. The only play that I would have looked at, but he did take money line instead of the spread, is that Oklahoma-Wichita State game. I was considering Wichita State taking them against the spread, decided to lay off it, as I found plenty of other things that I like, but seems like a pretty decent parlay, if you ask me, if you are a parlay type person. And he had some success running these. So, you got any thoughts?
I'm not going into any nine-man wild mans. I'm glad he's doing $3 and $5 bets. Good for him. Just not my cup of tea.
Yep, absolutely. I'm right there with you. And let's go ahead and get on to our trolls.
All right. So we just have the one, correct?
We have two.
Two? All right. So is that – well, I'm going with the Twitter person. Is that one of the two?
Yes, it is.
All right. So there's an account out there. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw me clowning people, but don't want to give them the credit of adding them. Do not follow them. This tweet was sent to me by one of my buddies because he saw Jordan and I on the Milwaukee plus 10.5 last night. And someone's model or system, whatever you want to fucking call it, said they had it listed at K-State minus 16.5. We said this on the 6-point edge. We said this on the stream yesterday. If someone and if your guy is giving out K-State as a play and they're listing it as 6-point edge and they're not using common sense and not using their brain and actually looking into the numbers, and even in their quote unquote write-up that they did, which was just a bunch of words that you can get off Googling because this dude's clearly never watched a K-State game before. He like admitted that they lost to a D2 team, and this was the bottom of the bottom for them. And Jordan and I were telling everyone the bottom of the bottom is still not here yet.
Yeah, no.
And we saw it yesterday with Milwaukee almost pushed it to overtime if they could have made their free throws.
Would they lose by 1 point, 2 points?
Yeah, would have loved to see Milwaukee win outright.
Oh, my God.
With 6 seconds left when you're making those 2 free throws, I was a little sweaty and hoping you were personally going to miss one just so I got the easy cover and didn't have to sweat in overtime just because of what happened with that Pepperdine. But seriously, we've talked about this yesterday. If people have a model, you need to learn how to read it. It's a science with it. It's a system with it. Just having a model doesn't mean you're going to be profitable unless you play every single edge that it has on it. So then you become a volume player. That's not our styles. But seriously, guys, one, never pay for picks. Don't pay a tout, even if it's $2. What does that show about the guy that he literally needs to charge you $2 for his plays that he's either running through SDQL and just trying to find a system play, or it's just something he's pulling out of the air. So never pay for plays. Fuck all those touts out there. We do it for fun. We do it because we want to make money with you guys. We engage with you. We're just not trying to be all high and mighty up here. So fuck them touts is really all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, K-State, again, did K-State things, turning the ball over, allowing teams to score. They would take a 10, I think at one point they were up by like 14 points, and they would just give it all back. Milwaukee had ice in their veins, not afraid of K-State. This isn't K-State of 2018. This is K-State of 2020, and they are not good at basketball.
And then it was their first game. That was one of their biggest angles that they had too, and didn't really seem like it.
Yep. So we will probably go back to the well when K-State plays again and take them bet against them.
It's Iowa State, man.
Oh, is it? Yeah, Iowa State isn't good at basketball either. That's pretty bad. Actually, you did. Yeah, you texted me about that last night. The other troll that we have, I had alluded to this on Twitter earlier this week. UConn had their second coronavirus shutdown. They had to cancel games at the beginning of the season. They came out. They played two really shitty teams and then one a little bit shitty team, and now they're going back into COVID lockdown. So UConn is struggling to play games. I know UConn fans love UConn. They love the Huskies, and there were certainly reasons to love them through the 90s and 2000s and early 2010s. But right now, this team needs to have a little bit of discipline if they continue to see these infections. For them to be the first team to have two shutdowns and them not be like a school from Alabama or like Arizona or somewhere in the deep South, I think is a really bad look.
Yeah, I mean, undisciplined. You can't blame it all on Hurley, but that just seems like it's a culture thing. You see John Rothstein loves to do the stupid same-ass tweets every day, but thankfully he updates his math and still says like 88% of the schools are playing. So that's clearly showing only one team of the 345 or however many are playing have only shut down twice so far.
Yeah.
At this rate, I mean, UConn, you just got to be smarter about it. If you want to play basketball and have your fans, and not, there's probably no chance of, well, with the second shutdown coming, that fans are even going to be able to get there. But they're just not showing any signs of continuity together with that. Just having two different week off breaks, maybe that's good for going into conference play, but I think they're going to have a bunch of games stacked up towards the end of the season because they're trying to get every team to a certain threshold. And if they have a third outbreak, like what are they going to do? Because then there's probably going to be 0% chance of them making the tourney if they are missing 5 to 6 games because only 3 non-con games. They really got one decent win there. But if USC sucks in the Pac-12, that win looks like nothing. I don't think that's going to happen. So they'll probably have a win against a fringe bubble team so they can take it as it is. But you see these Big East teams, some of them are looking good. They're looking hot. They're playing together. I mean, they're just stacking games right now, and UConn just can't get out of its own way.
No, and honestly, coming out of Connecticut, which is one of the states that is taking some of the most strict precautions in regards to their coronavirus guidelines for the general public, I think that this is probably having state legislator really start to scratch their head. If there were to seriously be a third outbreak that happens on this team, I mean, at this point, I don't know who on their team could still theoretically catch coronavirus. But if there is a third outbreak, I think the state is going to try and take a stance on this because UConn had to lobby before the start of the season to actually even play games in New York and even leave the state of Connecticut to play basketball. And if they are going to be someone who gets another infection again, I think the state takes a real hard look at this and tries to see what's going on in the culture of this team and what's happening on campus with this team that they continue to find these infections.
Yep. So sorry, Steven. You don't get to see your team, so you don't get to yell on Twitter. So it is what it is.
All right, go ahead and you can jump into this last game. I did just check the line, and it still is 2.5 too. So it isn't still flying up at this point. So go ahead and kick it off.
All right, so maybe we finally found the baseline of this number. This was play even before the lines were out yesterday, or maybe they just came out and I didn't see them yet. And I texted Jordan that I love Clemson. I was coming on here and saying they're a top 25 defense. I'm sorry, Clemson, for not showing the respect that you deserve. Haslam has you at 4, and Bart has you at 2. So, all right, you're a top 10 defense easy, right, at this point. And they opened up as -2. I believe this game's at home, or it could be at neutral, just because, Jordan, if you can neutral court, so nothing really there. But Clemson opened at -2. It's now sitting at 2 and 2.5. Man, I'm just waiting for this number to rise because it's slowly been moving. Maybe we finally found the baseline here, and I'll end up locking it in at the same number Jordan got at 2.5. But I don't know what other than potentially people having inside information of somebody going to sit out, and that would just be Amir Sims, who would be worth anything close to a 4-point move in this game, that's where it can all really come from, because John Petty Jr., real good player. But Clemson, they got the second best defense. And until they show me that they're not going to hold teams to shooting at ungodly low rates, then I'm just going to keep like allowing it, because they're just overperforming. No, I don't want to say overperforming on defense. They're just shutting teams down. Their offense is where their struggle is. Alabama's balance on both sides of the ball. They're more top 50. Clemson's offense is more around 100, but when you're legitimately holding teams to under 60 points in every single game we played so far, you don't really need to score that many points. The most they let up was 70. That was to Purdue. The rest was 42, 38, and 51. So at this point, I just backing in on this Clemson defense here, and I think that's the right side here. We love to say fade steam retire. I think this is definitely a steam play for how quickly that number moved. And I was just trying to get the best number I can. The minute I see a flat 3 at like minus 105, I'm firing away.
Yeah. To back up that defensive stalwart of the Clemson defense, Ken Palm has them in the top 10. He has them number 8. They are one of the highest in free throw percentage against. They steal at an elite rate. They have non-steal turnovers in the top 10 in the nation, and they are holding teams to 38.8% from 2-point range, which is crazy considering they've played Maryland, Purdue, and Mississippi State, which are all 3 considerably above average teams. I'm same angle as you. Are people backing Nate Oates because he talks shit to Coach K? Like, is that a logical angle? I'm sure, he's going to have a little swagger walking into the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia tonight. But does that mean that his team is going to play considerably better? You do have 2 differing styles here, where Clemson is one of the slower teams and Alabama is one of the faster paced teams in the nation. But this Clemson defense is so good. They do a lot. They do just about everything well on defense. Looks like the only area where Alabama has an edge, according to Eric Haslam, is their offensive rebounding and their second chance points. Otherwise, Clemson has a significant edge on every metric on the defensive side of the ball versus Alabama's offense. So me catching 2.5 here, where I already had 19 million other bets to put in, I went ahead and just locked it in at that. But who knows? Maybe if you join Rex and you ride this out, you could catch a 3. Otherwise, 2.5, 2 is a solid number. We do have this projected at.
It was like right at a pick 'em.
Actually, we have it projected at Clemson -2.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
This is our largest edge. Everywhere that we pull in our source data from has Clemson projected as either a pick or a favorite. So with us getting 2.5 here, like you said, maybe it is something like Amir Sims is sitting out. I haven't seen that. I searched college basketball, the injury database, could not find any Clemson players listed on there. So I'm rolling with Clemson, taking the 2.5 and running.
Yep. Didn't want to lay the -2. Once I saw it the pick, I'm like, oh, yes, this is where we want it. And how more fitting would it be that the team that loves to beat Duke just smacks Alabama and Nate Oates after they just talk so much shit? Because Clemson loves upsetting Duke, especially on Clemson's home court. And, yeah, I mean, if they could stop Petty, that's a huge part, because he's one of their biggest catalysts for their offense. So, I mean, but he's no scrub. He's someone that can get you over 15 points per game. So that's where it's a little bit tough. Quitterly's their other better player too. So their guard play is exceptionally where they excel. They have the guards. They have the big men as well. I guess that's where I thought someone can potentially give Clemson a battle, is if they have an elite like 7-footer or someone who's 6'10" that just destroys the inside. But clearly, I mean, they've played some bigger teams, and you set the tempo. This is going to be a good barometer test to see how Clemson plays when they have to play a faster-paced team. Maybe people are buying into that Alabama is going to dictate the pace, but what we've seen with Clemson, they're a very fundamentally sound team. They know if they get into a running race with Alabama, that's just not a style they want to play. And Brad Brownell will make sure they don't do that.
Yeah, they can employ traps. They can hold them at the half court and just stand there at the wall. And there's not a huge size advantage for Alabama. They do have a couple 6'10" guys, but they're getting about 50% of the minute share or less. So Alabama doesn't run like a 3-forward offense by any means. I think that although Clemson's a little bit undersized, I think that just what their defense is capable of doing, catching 2.5 is certainly the angle that you and I are taking on this one.
Yes, sir. So let's recap our plays real quick. The first one's already tipped off, so I hope you guys joined early.
Yeah, so that was Toledo.
Yep, Toledo minus 11.5 was the first one, and then FSU just tipped off against Florida now. I didn't know if you were aware of the beef between White and Leonard Hamilton, but it's pretty funny.
When you sent me that screenshot last night of the 24/7 article, I was cracking up reading that. My 2 picks that I have, or actually 3 picks that I have alone, and then we share our other 3. I have Mississippi State plus 3.5 minus 110 taking on Dayton. I have Pepperdine minus 15 taking on CSU Northridge, and then I have Old Dominion team total under 63.5 at minus 113. Backing the VCU defense here.
Yep, and the ones that we share are Toledo minus 11.5, minus 105, UAB minus 3.5, minus 105, the Orangemen minus 2.5, minus 105, and then Clemson, and then Jordan's locked in Clemson at plus 2.5 at minus 110. I'm waiting. Probably still get that 2.5 number at worst, hoping a 3 pops.
Yep, and looks like we don't have any comments. We were able to get to the tweets that people had shot out to us. So, as always, if you do have questions, comments about any games, chime into the comments, tag us on Twitter, and we'll be able to break those down for you. But that's all for today's stream. Full slate. I think we have like 65 games or so, and that's even with 25 of them being postponed already. So, to have been looking at a slate of 100 games and still having 65, there's worse things that can happen right now. A lot of games out there, a lot of ways to find edges. And that's all we got for today's show. You don't want to say anything before I do another plug?
Probably the game to watch, early one, is definitely going to be Florida versus Florida State. So turn that on right now while you're watching us. Late night, Illinois versus Missouri. That one, everyone probably thinks the Illini is a fishy line. That's definitely going to be a great game. It's going to be seniority versus kind of seniority there. Mm-hmm. So I'm hyped for that one.
Yeah, that'll be a really good game. And there's a lot of good games. Today's the day to really sit on the couch. It's raining here in New England, so if you're in the Northeast, you're probably seeing something pretty similar. So enjoy the day. College football is coming down the stretch as well, and then tomorrow is a nice NFL Sunday. So that's all Rex and I have for today's episode of Pick and Troll. This is episode number 7. We'll be back early next week. Seems like Tuesdays tend to be a good slate for the ESPN game, so we'll probably end up being back on Tuesday. Go ahead and check out our website, breakdownsports.com. That's BRKDWNsports.com. Find us on Twitter at breakdown_sports, Instagram, _breakdown, and do a quick search for us on Facebook. Give us that like, thumbs up, a couple things, please. Find us at The Breakdown. That's all we got for today's show. Signing off. Hope everyone, best of luck out there on your bets. And as always, let us know if you hear anything. Peace.
Yep. Go Navy, beat Army.